Welcome back to my channel. I'm Kat Saves and I'm on a mission to help you shop smarter and save money. So we're in a bit of a new location for this video because I wanted to set up like a little cozy corner where I could film this, because this video is going to be a little bit more chatty. I just kind of wanted to sit and talk to you guys because we're going to have a really good conversation about how to live below your means. Now I'm going to give some really good practical strategic advice in this video, so you might actually want to grab a pen and paper if you want to write down some notes, because that can always be helpful, especially when we're learning new things. It is always good to write it down. First things first, get yourself a cup of tea, because you know nothing beats a good old cup of tea and a bit of a chit chat. So I hope you don't mind. I've got some notes written down on my phone. I am going to be kind of reading. I really hope that doesn't come across as being rude. You know, when you're like out with people and they're kind of sat on like reading their phone or like chatting to someone on their phone when you're right in front of them. That's what I feel like this is like. So I really hope you don't mind me doing that. So living below your means is actually going to be the best way to keep on top of your finances and actually take away a lot of that money stress. And in this video, I'm literally going to give you so much practical and informative advice on how to live below your means, whether you're a family or you are a single person living alone, or maybe you do have quite a good income but you just want to become a little bit more financially responsible and take some steps towards financial freedom. And if you're new here, definitely go and check out some of my other videos. I post a lot about saving money and shopping more mindfully, and also make sure to check out my TikTok and Instagram where I actually post every single day, so you can get some really good tips over there as well. Grab your cup of tea and a notepad and pen and let's get into it. So above all else, you are going to need to have a budget. It is so important. It doesn't matter how much money you are making, you need to be having a budget. And it's actually all about nailing down the detail when it comes to your budget. Basically to know exactly what you've had come in that month and what's going out. You literally need to be putting everything into this budget, not just your rent and bills. We're talking about all the little things. Is it somebody's birthday coming up and you need to buy them a birthday present, or you need to put some money aside because you're going out for a dinner? Anything like that? Are you getting your hair cut this month? Any tiny little thing that you might think is insignificant, but you know, it's these little things that are going to add up. All of it needs to go down on your budget. And it's so important to do this because you will literally start noticing spending habits that you didn't even know you had. Maybe you pick up a takeaway coffee every few days, but at the time you think nothing of it, and actually it is massively adding up. And personally, I like to have a treat budget worked into my budget because this is how I stop impulse buying. If there's anything that I spot while I'm out and about, or you know, online or something, and I decide I really like that, then I have actually budgeted for it already because it will just come out of my treat budget, and that way it's just not going to be some huge surprise and I'm not going to be putting it on a credit card or whatever. So if you are the type of person who is prone to impulse buying, maybe you like to get a little takeaway here and there or a coffee once a week, literally put that down in your treat budget, and then it takes away all the guilt of spending that money, and you can just treat yourself without overspending. Honestly, creating your budget just makes life so much easier. You can literally do this on a piece of paper and write it all out, or you can do it in a spreadsheet, or there are like millions of apps out there that can help you with this. It all just depends on your personal circumstances and how you like to do things. Honestly, I just write down things in my notes app. That's how I like to do it, and that's what works for me. So once you've done your budget, you can then see what areas you need to cut back on. And by that, I'm talking about all the things that slowly add up and end up costing a lot of money. I'm not talking about taking away all of your treats and all the things that make you happy. And it also means that you can start looking at more affordable alternatives. That was a little bit of a tongue twister. Affordable alternatives to the things you spend a lot of money on. Can you eat out somewhere cheaper? Can you maybe cut down on the alcohol or switch to water sometimes? Is there a cheaper car insurance option or cheaper broadband? It's all of these little tweaks that are really going to add up and help you live below your means. So tip number 2 is to differentiate between your wants and your needs. So obviously you need to pay your house costs For example, your bills, your food, obviously your rent, insurance, things like that, they are needs, they are not wants. Your wants can be things like a holiday or a trip away, a new outfit, going out for dinner. So another great way to budget for these wants is to have a sinking fund. So a sinking fund is basically where you put away a bit of money every month specifically to spend on this want. So when the time comes to buy it, you've taken away any spending guilt. But also you can actually afford it because you've already saved for it. And I would say it's actually really important to realize if this particular want is actually important to you and your life. Ask yourself why you want it. Does it push you further away from your financial goals if you buy it? Can you really afford it? You really have to ask yourself what is the real cost of it beyond the price tag, and think about how long it's actually going to make you happy. So I really think sinking funds are honestly a game changer when it comes to budgeting, because if there is something that you specifically know you want to spend money on that desperately, put the money into your sinking fund every now and then, whenever you can afford to, and then obviously it will all add up and you've got the money right there in that specific pot of money for that specific thing. You're not going to feel guilty about spending the money and you can afford it. What's everybody's favourite tea, by the way? I really like PG Tips. I am a PG Tips girl. My boyfriend likes Yorkshire tea. Let me know if you have a favourite or if there is any difference at all. Moving on to a little subcategory here. If you are prone to getting takeaways really often, just cut it out. Honestly, I'm someone who just rarely gets takeaways. If ever, honestly, I can't remember the last time I got a takeaway. So this is a want that I just personally think is quite unnecessary, because honestly, it's just a waste of money. It is so overpriced these days for what you get. I've seen people say they literally spend thousands of pounds a month on takeaway food, and I just think that is wild. If you're getting one takeaway here and there as a little treat, again, absolutely fine. No judgment at all, but those people who are getting takeaways constantly, honestly, you're just wasting so much money. If you really want to live below your means, I would honestly say this is something that you can cut out completely, or at least heavily cut down. Meal prep and meal plan, that is the way to go. Honestly, you will never be left wondering what to eat that day or feeling like you can't be bothered to cook, because it is literally already done for you. And then when you do want a takeaway every now and then for a special treat, you can make sure it is in your budget for that month and it's not just going to be a surprise cost. So moving on to tip number 3, and this is all about prioritizing your savings. So once your needs are accounted for, putting money into your savings is the next step. Putting your money into savings is a great idea, especially doing it straight away and not waiting until the end of the month. This is what we like to call paying yourself first. Please do just remember that when you watch videos like this, everybody is on a different path. Everybody is in different financial situations. So, kind of take everything with a pinch of salt. Everyone's budget is going to look different and everyone will be able to save a different amount of money. It's just so important not to compare your financial situation to literally anybody else's. There is not one person who has the exact same financial situation as you do. But having savings and having money in an emergency fund is really important, because literally anything can come up unexpectedly that you haven't budgeted for and you haven't got a sinking fund for, so you literally never want to be caught out. It is the worst feeling. It's just honestly a safe and sensible thing to have an emergency fund. So tip number 4 is to avoid debt where possible. So sometimes it is completely unavoidable, but if you can avoid it, it is really important to do so if you do want to live below your means. Because if you are going to be buying things that you don't need, that you're putting on credit, then you're going to get into debt, and then it's just creating these really bad habits when you have to start paying it back. Then you might not have the money to pay it back, and it's honestly just a really unhealthy spiral to go down, and it can be incredibly stressful. Having said that, credit cards are not all bad, only if you use them sensibly. You use them for small purchases here and there and you pay them back in full every single month. They are a really good way to build your credit score, but again, you have to be sensible spending on them. Tip number 5 is to be aware of lifestyle inflation. This is basically where you might get a pay rise and you start earning more money, or maybe you've got a side hustle or something that has started bringing money in for you. But just because you're earning more money, that doesn't mean you need to be spending more money. As your salary goes up, if your spending is also going up, you're still going to be in the same situation of living paycheck to paycheck. And honestly, nothing is ever really going to change because it is your spending habits that are letting you down. So really be aware of lifestyle inflation, and even if you're earning more than you were before, try to keep your spending at the same level. So living below your means requires a lot of discipline and making conscious choices about your own spending habits, as well as maybe making a few sacrifices as well. But please just remember that it is all for your own good to completely take away any of that money stress that you might have. I really hope that you found these tips useful. I hope that you could take something away from it. If so, please drop me a comment and let me know if you have any tips of your own. I love to read everybody else's tips. Make sure that you like this video and subscribe if you want some more money saving and shopping content.